It's not every day that a story about West Ham United gets me to the point of feeling frustrated and angry. And God knows there have been so many stories and reasons to be angry over the past few years. But as regular viewers will know, regular viewers of this show will know, I try to see things from a positive. But even I have struggled to see any positives in the latest story. Now, on the day that Liverpool announced the signing of Hugo Ekitike and Arsenal announced a verbal agreement to sign Victor Gyökeres, West Ham United went one step further, one step better, and knocked both of these clubs straight out of the park with our very own striker announcement or imminent striker announcement. Enter Callum Wilson. Now, remember, people, this is a world-class stadium, which, by the way, we won't be able to use in a couple of years' time because of athletics during a season. So it's a world-class stadium with a world-class team run by world-class transfer gurus in David Sullivan. By the way, if you are watching this channel for the first time, or if you have watched me before and yet to subscribe, please do. I bring you no doom and gloom. I try to anyway. Costs nothing to subscribe, so please do subscribe to the channel. But if you enjoy the video, please hit the like button at the end. So, not only did our transfer window start slow, but when it did get up and running, it's not enough for David Sullivan to have his pants pulled down over the sale of Mohamed Kudus. He loved it so much that his mate is doing the same thing to him by giving us Callum Wilson. But it's okay because he's a free agent, you know, on low wages. So what's not to love? Look, apparently Sullivan is telling people that it's down to him to clear up the mess that was left by Tim Steidten. The staggering audacity of the man is something to behold. The reason why we're in the mess that we're in is because of years of poor decision making on managerial and player signings. And those all lead back to Sullivan and his poor Del Boy tactics and backhanded wheeler-dealer transfers that he has overseen, which has undermined every single manager, every single director of football, every head coach, and every technical director that we have had since he bought the club. As my mate, Mr. Paul Williams, said to me the other day, why are you surprised? And yet here I am surprised because I'm stupid. I'm the stupid eternal optimist who believes that things will change because it looks as if Sullivan sometimes has changed his ways. I thought that way back when Mario Husilos became director of football. I thought that when David Moyes only agreed to take a long-term contract so long as he had full control of transfers. I believed it when Tim Steidten was brought in as technical director. And stupidly, I believed this when finally we looked as if we were heading in the right direction when Sullivan appointed Carl McCauley to be our head of recruitment. Don't forget, he even paid Chelsea £1 million compensation to do that as well. Now, what McCauley is meant to be bringing to West Ham is something similar to the Brighton transfer model, which works perfectly well, which Sullivan is envious of, which relies on precision data-driven analysis to identify some of the brightest young talent across the world. And Sullivan himself has seen the benefits that has brought to Brighton. Buy cheap, buy young, sell for a vast profit, get really good income, no need to worry about PSR as the transfer deals are become self-financing. But why have all that when all Sullivan has to do is have a quick chat with his mate Salty and all will be fine when it comes to our transfer business? Will Salthouse is having a laugh at the expense of every single West Ham fan because he knows damn well that a deal to bring injury-prone 33-year-old Callum Wilson to West Ham United is not going to go well at some point. The only person who thinks it's a gamble worth taking is David Sullivan himself. Even Salthouse deep inside doesn't believe that this is a good deal. But like all good agents, they find an angle and sell it to a gullible owner like Sullivan, knowing full well that getting Wilson over the line would be a tricky one. Salthouse finds Sullivan's weakness and plays on it. And here's how I believe the conversation between the two has gone. David, you have an issue with a German striker who's injury prone and hasn't proved himself in the Premier League. So, as a mate who I've known for years, I can get you Callum Wilson to sign. All you have to do is offer him a low basic salary and incentivized bonuses, and he's your man. When seeing the confusion on Sullivan's eyes, Salty goes on to say, "Why would you risk spending your hard-earned money, throwing it away on a young striker from another country who doesn't have the experience in the Premier League just because you're given some stats by some geek, when instead you can trust me to do right by you?" Well, we all know the first and foremost, the only person an agent is going to do right by is themselves, followed up by doing right by their clients. And even then, that can be questionable at times. And finally, it's on a wing and a prayer that perhaps the football club itself might benefit in some way. And that scenario is what we have right before our very eyes. And do you know what? I bet even Sully can smell the ball, but yet he's drawn in because he thinks himself to be some kind of transfer guru. So Sully replies, "Oh, yes, Mr. Salthouse, you're right. I need to protect my money and not waste it on an unproven striker. What do you have for me?" "Callum Wilson. Are you sure, Salty?" "Yes, Sully, I'm dead sure. But here's the good bit, David. Callum is so desperate to stay in the Premier League. And what's more, he's always been desperate to play for this great club, West Ham. And imagine, David, you're getting a player who has scored 88 Premier League goals in 239 appearances, and you're getting this guy for virtually nothing. You know it makes sense." "Oh, yes, you're right, Will. Away with these pesky foreign young players who might earn me a fortune in the future. And let's get Callum in straight away." "I'll tell you what I'll do, Will. I'll offer him a 1-year deal." David, an opportunity like this doesn't come round every day. You have to give Callum at least 2 years. I mean, you may never get the chance to sign him again, and you wouldn't want to miss out on him going to one of your relegation rivals. Oops, I meant one of the other Premier League teams, Burnley or Leeds, would you? You'd be kicking yourself if that happens. Mind you, if anyone kicks Callum, he'll probably be out for 3 months. But anyway. Now, on his day, in his pomp, a younger Callum Wilson would give the likes of a Kitty K and Gyökeres a good run for their money. But Wilson is not in his pomp. Regrettably, he's about to sign for West Ham United 10 years too late. But what does this honestly say about our transfer business? Yet again, Sullivan is involved. He simply doesn't learn any lessons. And the irony is that he could actually use the wages that he's going to pay Wilson, no matter how low the weekly wage is, towards a player of the future. When I saw the news breaking on Tuesday about Callum Wilson, I initially laughed and then thought, just to be on the safe side, I'd see if there's any truth in it. I was advised by two completely different individuals, separate individuals, that the story was indeed true. But at that point, it was at the stage of just negotiating. Nothing was really confirmed yet. Now, I'm not going to call the two individual sources per se, but let's just say they're very well connected. And in fact, one of them keeps a very low profile, and rightly so. The information I got was that the club were considering Callum Wilson as a low financial risk to our striker problem. But as I said on my show on Wednesday, Callum Wilson does not fit in with the vision that Graham Potter and Carl McCauley has got for this club. Our first signing was promising, 20-year-old El Hadji Malik Diouf. Then I wasn't altogether disappointed with the Carl Walker-Peters signing, but 33-year-old injury-prone Wilson? No wonder Potter wanted to distance himself from any striker signings when he announced on Monday, or through intermediaries, he announced on Monday that he was no longer looking for a striker. But now, barring any last-minute mishap, please God, let him fail the medical. But barring that, Potter has clearly been overruled, and Callum Wilson will soon be announced as a West Ham player. Now, I wonder if he might take Antonio's number 9 shirt just to rub salt into a gaping wound. What will now be interesting is how Graham Potter will use Callum Wilson, if at all. Now, my gut tells me that Potter is hoping that our other Callum Marshall, is going to be the surprise package of this pre-season. He's done well so far, and that he will be parachuted into the senior squad and potentially become our second striker behind Fulkrug, so that he wouldn't have to call upon Wilson too often. And to be quite honest with you, I think even Jared Bowen is going to be preferred up front rather than Wilson again. And dare I say it, and I'm going to say it, perhaps even Maxwell Cornet, if he stays, is likely to be ahead of Wilson in the pecking order as well. So, as a third, maybe fourth choice striker, Wilson might get precious little game time at West Ham United. I wonder then if Sully might then put pressure on Potter to start playing Wilson more often. Potter will by then may have probably had enough, and he might end up walking. Much like a lot of diehard West Ham fans have done over these recent years. I started the show talking about positives, trying to look for positives and always trying to find the positives. Well, okay, here goes. Not spending serious money on a striker must surely mean now that we're able to spend good money, big money, on one or maybe two midfielders, attacking midfielders. So let's see if that materializes. Our very own, just mentioned him, our very own Callum Marshall might be able to learn something from someone as experienced as Callum Wilson and maybe become a better striker for it. Maybe, just maybe, if Wilson does stay fit, and maybe if he is played, he might grab us some important goals throughout what might become a bit of a miserable season. That's if we don't strengthen, of course. And finally, at least, Callum Wilson cannot score against us unless, of course, he scores a classic own goal. I'm sorry. You know I try to bring you positives. There are many other transfer stories which I'm really not sure I want to talk about right now, because this is like a massive dark cloud hanging over every West Ham United fan's head. I wish it was more positive. I want it to be more positive. You know, I want West Ham to succeed, but it's a bit difficult right now to feel that way. Thank you for watching and listening. Do leave your comments, and I will see you all again very soon.